Hello, and welcome to this video created by Parents Helping Parents. Today we will talk about the Self-Determination Program. This program is available statewide in California to all regional center clients. Self-determination was developed as a voluntary alternative to the traditional way of delivering regional center services that gives individuals more freedom and control over how their services are delivered and who provides them with support. Self-determination gives you a choice in all areas of your life, including where you want to live, how you will spend your time each day, and who you will spend your time with. It's about having hopes and dreams for the future and developing the goals to go after them. It's about being in control, making your own decisions, and spending the money provided to you your way. The self determination program follows five principles to ensure that those who participate have freedom, authority, support, responsibility, and confirmation. Freedom. You plan your own life and make your own decisions, just as people without disabilities do. Authority. You decide how the money is spent for your services and supports. Support. You choose the people and the supports that will help you live, work, and be an important part of your community. Responsibility. To make decisions about how you will use public money and play a valuable role in the community. Confirmation. You are the most important person when making plans for your life. You are the one who makes decisions about your services. Self determination means nothing about me without me. What is the difference between self determination and the traditional method? Well, self determination provides the flexibility to choose your services, supports, and providers. In self determination, you can buy different services from almost anyone in your community, not just those providers through the regional center. In the traditional program, your regional center service coordinator is the person that helps you to find the services you need. In self determination, you could decide whom you want to help you, such as your family, friends, or an independent facilitator. You will have a budget and choose what services and supports you will use to meet your goals in life. Self determination has four important elements that we will talk about throughout this video: you and your collaborators, a robust person centered plan, independent facilitation services, and lastly, the financial management service. The timeline on this slide will help you identify the important phases in self determination. First is the orientation, which is provided by all regional centers and the State Council on Developmental Services. Next, you will create a person centered plan, which is the foundation for a good self determination program. After that, a financial management services company is chosen. This is a crucial step since the company will be responsible for managing your budget. You will then be given an individual budget, which is the money you have to spend. Next, you will create a spending plan outlining how you will spend the budget. You will then create a new individual program plan based on the person centered plan and the budget. Finally, the services begin. The self determination orientation session is a mandatory introductory overview of the self determination program. After attending this meeting, any interested regional center consumer can participate in the program. Let's start learning about the person centered plan. What is person centered planning? Well, it's planning in a way that supports and guides respectful listening, which leads to action, resulting in people who have a positive control over their life and find a fulfilling life, are recognized and valued for their contribution, current and potential, to their communities, are supported in a web of relationships, both natural and remunerated with their communities. So, person centered planning is concerned with a person's future and achieving their goals. The process should be driven by the individual and reflect what is important to them and how to best support them. Person centered planning can include other people, such as family or friends, but only if the person chooses to include them in the process. The individual with a disability, the parent or caregiver, decides through person centered planning what the participant wants and needs and what services and supports will help them reach their goals. This information is then used to find services and create their individual program plan or IPP with the regional center. The goal of person centered planning for participants in self determination is that the individual program plan or IPP must be based on the person and their wants and needs. It can also be used as the basis of their IEP. In addition, person centered thinking changes people's mindsets about individuals with disabilities. It maintains dignity and respect for the person. It will empower the person to make decisions that will give them a better quality of life. It is about finding the balance between what is important to the person and how to best support them. And most importantly, the person has control over their own life. Let's identify some person centered tools that will help you create a great self determination independent program plan. Start by looking at what is important to the person and if there are ways to better support them. Next, create a one-page profile so providers know how to support the individual. Look at what's working and what's not working. Use this information to develop outcomes and actions to make sure change happens. Identify the person's circle of support. This is the group of people that form a community around the person. Look at the relationship between the individual with the disability and current providers. This is called support staff compatibility. And you make sure that the participant has a positive reputation in each step of the process. Now we will learn about the independent facilitator. An independent facilitator is a qualified person who will assist and guide you through this process of self determination. They will be chosen by the individual or representative. It is not required that an independent facilitator is certified or licensed. However, an independent facilitator is required to receive training in the principles of self determination, the person centered planning process, and other responsibilities consistent with the service coordination for consumers' individual program plans. If a participant chooses to hire an independent facilitator, the cost of this service is negotiated between the independent facilitator and the participant, and it is paid from the participant's individual budget. Participants may choose to hire one or more independent facilitators if they would like. What is the role of the independent facilitator? They can facilitate a person centered plan, help navigate the system and the self determination program. They can support with communication. They can also assist in making informed decisions about services, individual budgeting, locating, accessing, and coordinating services and supports consistent with the participant's IPP. They are available to help identify needs and find options to meet those needs. They can lead, participate, or advocate on behalf of the participant during the person centered planning process or when developing the IPP. This slide shows you who can be an independent facilitator and that there are two types of independent facilitators. First, there are, there are independent facilitators who are unpaid. For example, if you decide to be the independent facilitator for your son or daughter who is a minor, If you think you will need help with this whole process, you can hire someone you know and trust, like a family member or neighbor, or you can hire a professional. Just remember that to fulfill this role, the person will need to take the training and be qualified to do so. Here's some really important information. An independent facilitator is a person selected and directed by the participant, but it cannot be someone providing another service from the person's IPP or be employed by a person who provides services to the participant. For example, the independent facilitator may not be their respite provider. Also, an independent facilitator will receive training in the principles of self determination, the person centered planning process, and the other responsibilities described in the paragraph at the independent facilitator's own cost. Additionally, participants who do not wish to work with an independent facilitator can ask their regional center service coordinators to fulfill this role, but they will not be able to support with all aspects of the role of an independent facilitator. In self determination, each participant will have an individual budget to pay for their services, but you will not manage that budget yourself. These services will be managed by the Financial Management Service, or FMS, of your choice. In self determination, the client will receive support from a company to help them pay for services and supports. This person or company is called a financial management services provider. The participant is required to use the services of an FMS. The FMS must have a contract with your regional center to deliver the service. The list of all financial management service providers can be found on the DDS website. Now that we know that we all must have a financial management services provider in self determination, what actually is it and what do they do? Well, a financial management services provider is key to supporting people who choose to get their services through self determination. They can manage the individual budget and pay for services, including paying employees, assisting with hiring employees, making sure providers are qualified to deliver services, and helping providers get criminal background checks if needed. But why is it required? The state law requires that participants in the self determination program use a financial management system service, or FMS. An FMS will provide support in many ways, like we mentioned, paying for service providers, but they also ensure providers are qualified, ensure all employer related labor and tax laws are followed, and report to the participant and the regional center to help inform the budget. The FMS does not control the budget, they simply support participants in paying for the services that they have chosen. Who pays for the cost of my FMS? The cost of the FMS services are negotiated between the participant and the FMS provider, but may not exceed the maximum rates posted on the Department of Developmental Services website. Before, payment for the FMS came out of the participant's individual budget. However, as of July 1st, 2022, the cost of the FMS provider will be paid by the regional center outside of the participant's individual budget. In implementing this change, regional centers should authorize the cost of the FMS provider to be separate from the individual budget and spending plan, and work with participants to explore needed adjustments to their spending plans to reflect where the repurposed FMS fees may be used. There are three different models of financial management services that you can choose from, depending on how much responsibility you would like and how much responsibility you would like the FMS to take on. The first is FMS as bill payer. A participant can choose this model when goods or services are purchased from a business. They only need to pay the business. FMS as co-employer. A participant may choose this model if they want to share some of the employer roles and responsibilities with the FMS. And lastly, FMS as sole employer. A participant may choose this model if they want the FMS to be the direct employer of the service providers and have the majority of responsibility. As I previously mentioned, DDS has a maximum rate an FMS can charge, but the range of maximum fees within each model depends on the number of services funded by your individual budget as part of your individual program plan. For additional information, please visit the DDS website. Now we are going to learn about how the individual budget is determined. First, let's ask the question, what is an individual budget? An individual budget is the amount of money a self-determination program participant has available to purchase needed services and supports to achieve their goals and have a better life. The individual budget is determined by the individual program planning team based on the amount of purchase of service funds used by the individual in the last 12 months. So, for example, if your daughter receives respite and independent living services, they will calculate what the regional center spent on her services over the last 12 months. This amount may be adjusted if the individual program planning team determines the needs, circumstances, or resources of the person have changed. In addition, the individual program planning team can adjust the budget to support any prior needs or resources not addressed in the prior IPP. For participants who are either newly eligible for regional center services or who do not have 12 months of regional center purchases, the individual budget amount is calculated based on the following. As required, the individual program plan team identifies the services and supports needed by the participant. The regional center calculates the annual cost of providing the needed services and supports. This is done by using the average cost paid for each of the identified services and supports and how often the individual program plan team determines each service or support is needed. The average cost may be adjusted if the regional center determines the participant has unique needs that result in a higher or lower cost. Unique needs may include, but are not limited to, language preference, support for behavior or medical needs, and location of available services. The regional center certifies the individual budget amount would have been expanded regardless of the individual's participation in self-determination program. Now that we have the individual budget ready, what is a spending plan? A spending plan is the amount of money a self-determination program participant has available to purchase needed services and support. It is very detailed. It identifies the services and items the participant needs to implement their IPP. The plan also includes the cost of each service or item that will be purchased with budget funds. The amount of the spending plan cannot exceed the funds in the individual budget and must be attached to the participant's IPP. The, spe- the spending plan must identify the cost of each service, actively activity, or item that will be purchased with the self-determination program budget. In short, the individual budget is the amount of money a self-determination program participant has available to purchase needed services and supports, while the spending plan is how that money will be used to purchase services and supports. Will your service coordinator still have a role when you are in the self determination program? The answer is yes. They will help develop your person centered individual program plan. They will certify the amount of your individual budget. They will ensure that you have access to the generic resources available to you. They will help you understand what types of services you are eligible for. They will help you determine how to be healthy, safe, and live your full potential at home and in the community. They will ensure you meet your individual program plan goals based on your feedback and reports from the service providers. And they will ensure that the funds are spent in accordance with the individual program plan. An individual program plan is still required in the self determination program. As I've mentioned, the IPP now must reflect the goals and objectives created based on the person centered planning, meaning they are typically more unique and specific to the person. It must include all the services approved as well as the financial management service you chose and must be reviewed annually since the individual budget is determined annually. As with traditional services, self determination participants can appeal through the fair hearings process if the individual doesn't agree with the IPP and the services. What services are funded under self determination? Well, the list of services funded is very long. For more information about services, please visit www.dds.org and search for the self determination page. Just to show some examples, a self-determination participant can still access the services from the traditional service model, such as respite, community living support, individual training and education, technology services, dental services, and communication support, to name a few. But they may also receive access to social and recreational services they couldn't before, including but not limited to swimming, art classes, camps, equestrian therapy, and many more. What is an unmet need? This is very important. It is when services in the participant's individual program plan were not used, even though they were needed, or there were needs not addressed in the participant's prior individual program plan, or there was a change in circumstances in the participant's life and services were not used, or when life has changed and so there are different needs. Examples of this are the provider didn't have a staff person who spoke a participant's preferred language, so they were unable to use that service. The provider was far from the participant's home, so it made it too difficult to use that service. The participant was waiting for a provider to have an open spot in their program. The participant couldn't find a respite provider who could work the needed hours, and many more. If you can show that the individual has unmet needs, you can ask for additional funds in the individual budget to cover those unmet needs. Here's some next steps to start the process of enrolling in self determination. First, participate in the self determination program orientation at your regional center. Then, start the initial planning. This includes learning about person centered planning and finding an independent facilitator. Find someone that you have a good connection with and who has experience doing self determination. This is your foundation to have a good plan. Get ready for financial management services by investigating more about the FMS process. Have a list of FMS providers ready so you can interview them and choose the one you like. If you would like to enroll in the self determination program, again, continue to learn more about the program, attend an informational meeting with the State Council of Developmental Disabilities, contact your regional center to find out when and where these meetings are scheduled in your community, Then ask your service coordinator to enroll you in the program. The program is open to all consumers of all regional centers in California. Here are some helpful resources you can access online for more information. The Department of Developmental Services website, the State Council on Developmental Disabilities website, and the frequently asked questions page about about the self-determination program from the Department of Developmental Services website. Thank you for watching this video. We at Parents Helping Parents hope this presentation has been helpful. For more information about self-determination, please call us at 408-727-5775. This video was made possible thanks to the support of DDS, the California Department of Developmental Services. Thank you.